Okay, great. To get started, why don't you just give us a little bit of your background? I mean, we've run some stories on you, which I'm sure everybody here has read, but just tell us in your own words about your experience that you bring to the table in applying for this position.
Absolutely. Thank you. I've been working for the county just a little over 18 years now. I've worked my first 11 years in the treasurer's office and then moved on to the zoning department for a few years and then just recently coming back to the treasurer's office. Since coming back, I've taken the role of deputy treasurer of tax and finance and kind of just jumped into the role. I just got done rolling out my first year of property tax, getting those bills established, getting everything out. I'm in charge of making sure that the banks are balanced and that the finances are done. We just got done with a round of investments as well that I'm learning a lot, working with Denise as well in the office.
Sure, Denise Dolan's filling in the role.
Yep, she is our county. Okay.
Yep. So just tell us, I don't think any of us are super familiar with the inner workings of the office. Tell us a little bit about how things work there. How many employees do you have, and kind of what some of the typical interactions with the public and with your coworkers that you might go through?
Sure. Our typical work staff is 13 people. We have an office here in Dubuque, as well as satellite office in Dyersville that is open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, by appointment only because it is a small confined setting. On a daily basis, our office integrates with vehicle titles, renewals. Right now is our busy season with property tax. We deal with elderly credits and disabled credits for people, helping them with their property taxes. We also process passports in our office on a daily basis. We receipt all the revenues for the departments into the correct account, so that way they're accounted for. There just seems to be always an endless difference of things that we deal with customer service. We try to gear ourselves to be good at taking care of people.
And what additional responsibilities come with the role of deputy treasurer?
Deputy treasurer, I'm basically with tax and finance. It's with balancing of the banks, making sure that any advance payments that we have are balanced, making sure that all of our funds are where they're supposed to be when they're going out, and just coordinating with other offices to see if there's something that we should be aware of to make sure that we have everything where it's supposed to be. I deal with a lot with the auditor's office, making sure that when payrolls and things go through, everything is in the correct accounts for them.
Okay. And does this role or any of your previous roles, have you had supervisory duties?
Yes, I was the assistant zoning administrator for a little over 3 years. I was the backup to the zoning administrator, doing all of the duties and making sure that those things got taken care of out there. Working in that office also helped, bring out the supervisory role here. And it also showed how a different department in the county is affecting this department as well. So it's kind of showing how things work in our offices and how they all kind of roll together.
I see. And so
I'm sorry.
How many people did you supervise at the zoning office?
That was just a 3-person office. So okay. It was the zoning administrator, me, and then a clerk.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
You asked my question.
Oh, okay.
Well, I just to clarify a little further, Angie, thanks. So you had in that assistant zoning administrator, that was a 3-person office. How many people reported to you specifically?
Reported to me, just the clerk would report to me. Okay. Me and the zoning administrator would collaboratively work together. Instead of just having one person's opinion, we kind of collaborated together on things a lot since it was a small office.
And do you have supervisory role in your current position or previous positions in the treasurer's office?
My previous position here, no, I was just a clerk at that point. I came back as a deputy treasurer because when I used to be here, that's kind of the tax department side that I was most interested in, and it seems to be a good fit for myself. Thank you.
And having been through sort of 2 tours of duty in the treasurer's office, what you have a pretty good idea, I imagine, of the how things work around there. Do you see any areas where you think there could be improvement in efficiencies, or the way you approach the work, or any policy, anything like that?
A lot of it it's every day it's different around here. So it's just trying to approach things as best you can when it comes up, trying to just make sure that we remember to be courteous and kind. The public is who we are serving, and we should serve them to the best of our ability. We've implemented, since I've been here, we've implemented a monthly meeting with our workers. On the 3rd Wednesday of every month, we have a half-hour meeting to go over any legislative issues, any changes in the office, any updates, just so our staff continues to be up to date. Legislation changes so fast. That's just, we want to make sure that we're giving the public and making sure our staff is up to date on anything that's changing.
Okay, thanks. Let's see. And so this is your first run for an elective office, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is this, I mean, tell me a little bit about that decision. I mean, I get that you're probably not a person that's seeking a political career, but it does happen to be an elected office. What do you think the difference would be in holding elective office as opposed to kind of the role you play now?
The elective office, I think having someone who's familiar with the day-to-day aspects of the office, as well as knowing how the office runs, would keep that running smoothly. And I feel that I've got a good working rapport with our clerks and other deputy staff in the office, that it would be a smooth transition. Treasurer is always something I want it to be. I really like to serve the public and take care of things, giving them the understanding and the patience. I like to basically also make sure that everybody is aware of what's going on. So communication is a big thing that I like to be stressed around here.
And is there any areas where you think that you could find efficiencies in the office?
We just basically, we've been trying to do different things for streamlining, making sure the staff, we've kind of, with me being in the role now, staff has changed a little bit around here. So it's just trying to make sure that the roles correspond with the work, and just making sure that we're kind of streamlining things. So that way we've got everything kind of laid out for the clerks. So that way everybody knows. But other than that, right now, I'm not seeing any issues that we aren't already addressing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about other things, other opportunities you've had to be in a leadership role.
Okay. Well, what I've done is I am on our Cheryl St. Peter and Paul Parish Finance Council, who helps run the finances for our church, and also any projects that go on there. I also run a small business with my husband, that we've been running for the last 5.5 years. That goes basically worldwide on the web that we run it, but I also run that business on the side as well.
What kind of business is that?
It's for small tractor tires and parts for 6 different toy tractors.
Okay.
So Angie, with this being an elective office, curious as to what you see your role being as far as forward facing to the community and basically the constituents that would be electing you if that were the outcome.
Forward focusing is just making sure that when we're doing things around here, we're doing them following the state codes, the laws. And also the big role the treasurer is also for the finance portion. We want to make sure that when we are investing the county's money, we are getting the best benefit out of it. We recently just worked with local banks and local credit unions to make sure that we ensure the best rate that the county can get on their investments. They're basically, the county can invest in CDs, T-bills, things like that. We just want to make sure that if we are investing, we are getting the best rates possible. And that's one thing that the treasurer really needs to make sure that is under control.
So oftentimes with people who are elected to office, you know, they see or feel a need to be out in front of the people who elected them in public settings and things like that. Do you see that as being a responsibility of this position, or do you see it being pretty much reactive to people who come to your office?
You almost need to be both. You need to be on the outside, making sure that if they have questions, be there. Also make sure to show them you're visible, but also being in the office on a day-to-day when we're operating is a key as well. If there are questions, there are always people who are needing more understanding of different things, and usually the treasurer is who they look to see if they can get anything taken care of or resolved.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you think that the treasurer's office should be a partisan office?
My opinion would be that no, I don't think it should. I think it should be run by someone who understands the workings of it, and basically, because we don't set policy, we don't set any laws, we are governed to follow those laws. So basically for us, it's just kind of making sure that we're following protocol.
We've written from time to time about the idea of sharing, whether there could be some shared responsibilities between various county offices, such as one that comes up from time to time would be treasurer and recorder, or perhaps treasurer auditor. Any thoughts about that, and whether that might work or be something that the county should explore?
At this time, that we used, I don't know if that would be something to be shared. The auditor has a lot of responsibilities, and if the treasurer falls short, that falls on the auditor. That might be a conflict. But at the other point is with the recorder, that could always be something down the road that could be something that be shared. But sometimes our offices intertwine that way. The recorder's office used to do passports, but since they issue birth certificates, they couldn't do that any longer. So that's one benefit that our office took over, was doing the passports, because another office was unable to do them. It also kept having another option for our customers to come here instead of just the post office.
Have you ever had any opportunity to speak with colleagues on a statewide basis, like treasurer's office employees from other counties, and maybe see how they might do things differently?
We just got back from ISAC last week, or I did, and you speak to quite a few treasurers. It comes down to a lot of counties. They just have different roles and things like that, that they don't think that should be separated. The treasurer should be separate from the recorder, because they are handling different funds and different operations. But a lot of the treasurers there, that's not something that they look to cross over with.
And what does ISAC stand for?
Iowa. I just was
there. Is it like for something specific for treasurers, or is it county employees?
It's basically any county elected officials. I'm trying to think of what the acronym is, but yeah, Iowa State Association of Counties is what it is.
Okay.
It's all different elected heads, from recorders, supervisors, treasurers, anything that would be elected, or any constituents from their offices can go, and then it's educational training.
Okay.
Angie, you've had a fair number of changes going on in the treasurer's office over the last year or so, and any thoughts to how things are going from a human resource side? Anything that your predecessors might have done that you would do differently, or plans that you would have if you were to get this role?
There have been a lot of changes in our office. With me coming back and having the familiarity with office staff. It's just I basically rolled back in like I never left. And it's been very warm and welcoming. Basically what I've tried to do is we're trying to streamline job titles to make sure that we have the people who are more entitled with tax and finance and auto, kind of separating that out. So that way we have backups. Because if you would hate for anything to happen, but we've seen in the past year that nothing is set. So we've tried to cross-train more, trying to make sure that things are shown to everyone, or at least certain people, so that way there's no interruption in service for anyone. And with me walking back into the role and having familiarity with the office has really been beneficial for us.
Great, thanks.
Oh, thank you.
So, Bob alluded to changes that have taken place over the last year or so, widely publicized changes that affected that office. My suspicion is that there's maybe some rebuilding that needs to be done with that office, just because of the coverage of what happened with the person that was previously in that position. How do you see yourself helping rebuilding that relationship with the people of Dubuque County?
Just trying to be the best. I guess what I like to do is communicate, talk, make sure that everybody we do this job on a day-to-day basis, explain things to them in terms that they would understand. We want to make sure that everything is out there for them, not having any, if they have questions, not to be afraid to have us answer them for them. Sometimes people are afraid to ask those questions and coming forward, and some people have different notions of the office, but we try to make it a warm and welcoming environment for everyone. And just making sure that not just one person knows the information anymore, making sure that we have other staff who are aware of it. Cross-training is something that, like I had said before, it's something that's very beneficial. And I plan on, as a treasurer, to be a working treasurer where I'm still engaged in some of the day-to-day activities, just as I am now. And then making sure that the staff knows that I'm here if they have any questions.
Thanks.
Angie, when you talk about communication, any specific ideas or forms that would take when it comes to external communication?
How do you mean on the external communication?
As opposed
Like
to
community outreach.
Yeah, community outreach.
Oh.
Instead of whether the communicating with people as they come to you, that you
Sure.
would go out and communicate with your constituents or your customers, however you want to refer to them.
Yep. Basically, a lot of our department deals with motor vehicle, maybe taking trips to each dealership, visiting with them. Also, if there's at some point, we always like to basically put out a press release if there's anything new that we should know, that the community should know about, such as when there's elderly taxes or credits are due, things like that, letting the community know. Eventually, if there's something where they would like to have something where it's a meet and greet, or more or less something that would, help explain things to people, I would be great to do a seminar or something with people on property tax understanding, or working with our motor vehicle deputies and getting them involved as well. So that way, if there are more questions, that we can be more readily available to them, just maybe not during the 8 to 4:30 where the rest of us seem to work as well.
Yeah, I kind of wondered that too, if that was ever a thing where somebody from the treasurer's office spoke to service clubs or something like that.
Sure.
It's something we get asked to do from time to time, and you kind of tell them about what it's like on the inside. I would think your department would be an interesting one that people might want to hear more about.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just trying to find the resources to try to get that started. I don't know if that was really done in the past, but we're kind of, or maybe even setting up some type of social media for the office, like, hey, this is the treasurer's web page, this is the new stuff, or property taxes are due. There's a lot of people who are more virtual anymore, that might be something that we look into. When I spoke to some treasurers this last week, they've been doing that, where they set up a Facebook page to set out like mass information out, so that way the public's more aware of that information.
If you were to poll the folks that you work with in the office, what do you think they would say is their chief concern or issue that they have to deal with at work? What is an obstacle for them?
Talking to them on a day-to-day basis, an obstacle for them is just always making sure that of changes that go on. Like I said before, changes happen so often that sometimes if they've missed something or they've missed an email or something, just making sure they're up to date on the communication. And also just making sure to reiterate everything with the public, making sure that sometimes they can get a little excited, but you just remember that you need to speak to them in a kind manner and work things out with them. If not, then you need to come get someone who's a higher deputy to help you assist in that.
In that vein, is safety, personal safety and security a concern in your office?
Not really. We have security in the office. It's just some people, when you're dealing with their money, and when they have to give us money, sometimes that makes them very upset if they weren't expecting something. But it's just more or less them just making sure and trying to reiterate to them to please be kind, just explain everything as best you can. But for the most part, our security issue isn't an issue here. So.
I'll ask a question. So I guess, if you are elected as auditor, you talked about how you're somebody who's been in the position for, or who's been in the office for a bit. If you are elected, auditor, what would be the first things that you would do, or what would be kind of your first priorities in your new role?
Just making sure I meet with everybody one-on-one, just seeing what their expectations might be, where they think they have a concern. With all the changes in the last year here, it'd just be nice to have, sometimes you don't know with bosses coming in and out, you just kind of want to give them a little sense of security to see if there are any issues, see if there's anything we need to resolve from the bat. If they have suggestions on how to make the office better, definitely taking those into consideration. Because your staff is your backbone. If you have a great staff, they will help you through will help each other through the day-to-day operations. And also if any public, making sure that I'm readily available for them if they have any questions.
Does the county have a specific system that all the departments follow as far as employee evaluation and meeting with employees and those sorts of things? Do you do annual reviews, or is it individual to each office?
Each office, how the elected official wants to run the office they're on their own. That might be something that I would want to look at, making sure that people are talked to on either a monthly or every 6 months, just to see if any concerns have come up. That would be something that would definitely interest me. Just making sure that keeps problems, or if there are problems in the office, trying to keep them to a minimum. Because anybody who holds things in, it's not good. So it's just better off if we can talk those out.
And so when the county compensation board met, I guess, end of last year, and then the board of supervisors agreed to some increases. Can you talk about that process, how you think that system works, and whether the position is paid appropriately?
I wasn't in on the compensation board. I was already not placed in here yet, but as far as I know, they followed protocol on basically figuring out where this county sat compared to other counties. I never did end up reading all the findings for that, so I guess I don't have all the backstory on what they were, how they came with our outcome.
Does your role, do the deputy treasurers, is salary based on what the treasurer makes, or are they connected? Okay.
Yeah, we have 3 deputy treasurers in the office. One is based off of 85% of that, and there are 2 of us with the 75% of the treasurer's pay.
And does that seem about right to you? Would you lobby for any changes in that system?
At this point, I wouldn't. I believe that it seems to be working, and everybody, it hasn't done anything detrimental in this office. I believe we're paid accordingly.
Mhm.
Angie, you were talking a little bit ago about meeting with the employees and getting some of their feedback and their suggestions and so on. I guess my question would be is, how would you maybe describe your leadership style?
I like to lead with my group to make sure that they know that they have someone they can come to as well as work next to, that someone will work with them. I tend to lean towards I like to listen to people. I have compassion. I also like to communicate a lot. I like to, let everybody know what's going on so that way that they're aware of everything.
Okay, thank you.
And if you were to win the election in the post of treasurer, then you would have to fill your own vacancy there. What's the hiring process like these days in county government? Is it pretty easy to get applicants, or have you been dealing with workforce issues?
For this office, we haven't really been dealing with workforce issues. My goal would be to try to move people around within the office, just to give promotions where needed in the office for people who are already aware of what's going on. And then at that point, if there's positions, once we've gotten things moved around, then we would go to the outside. Basically, it would also be people who know the operations. It helps them kind of move up as well in the ladder around here.
What do you think would be the most challenging thing for you personally, if you were elected in holding this office, and whether it be something associated with the office and that position, or just the office in general? What do you think would be the biggest challenge for you?
I'm not really sure on that one, because I find everything's not a challenge. It's more or less, how can you conquer it? How can you work on it? So far, I've worked well with the Board of Supervisors and I'm affiliated with a lot of other county offices. Being here already, I think any challenges that come up, I've been addressing on a day-to-day. I'm not really seeing too many in the coming forward.
Is the role of treasurer pretty similar to the work, the tasks and responsibility that go with that position, similar to what you do now, or are there some new things that would be new to you?
This budget, I would be working our budget up, which would be different for me. That might be my biggest challenge, making sure our budget's correct. The other rest of the stuff, a lot of it, dealing with the hiring, or if people are transferring and things like that. The workforce would be the new thing that I would work with as well. But for the most part, on the operations daily, that would be something that I would continue to do just as I do now. Just maybe moving different duties around, but we would definitely have a nice flow because of not having to instruction someone else on what goes on in the office.
So on the flip side of that, what would you see as your biggest challenge if you are not elected? And now you have a person that you report to that you are running against.
At that point, you would work with them, and obviously they won the election. You'd work with them on teaching them what goes on in the office. That's part of running. You have to be prepared on either side that if you wouldn't win, that you'd want to be able to have a good working rapport with that new treasurer.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
What have you been doing as far as campaigning? I don't even really know, I guess, is in the treasurer's role, are you knocking on doors the way that legislative candidates do?
I haven't been knocking on many doors. I've been visiting with different towns, going to events, parades, just visiting with people at different picnics, social events, things like that. Just and other people. I mean, my family is a very large family from Cheryl, so they know a lot of people, and we kind of get out and talk to people more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Are there any topics that we haven't covered that or points, I guess, about your experience or background that you think would be important for us to know or for voters to know as we make those decisions?
Just to let you know, I have been working, like I said, for the county for 18 years. I've worked with elected officials, other managers in other offices, and on a daily basis, we have to kind of communicate with each other. I've had good working relationships with them, and other employees as well, just not the county. We also have the clerk of court in our building, and we deal with their employees as well on as needed. So basically, it's just, I have a lot of familiarity in the office and in the county, so it's nice to be able to hopefully serve them in a different capacity.
Anybody else? Any wrap up questions here for Angie? Well, we really appreciate you meeting with us. Thank you for your time. Good luck the rest of the night.
I appreciate you guys as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.